Good evening.
Hi there.
How are you?
I was good till my wife called me.
Oh no.
She's in Charleston with her girlfriends. They were shopping and she tripped over something and crashed and broke her arm that's connected to her new shoulder.
Oh no. Uh, so I assume she's in the hospital down there?
She has to find somebody who knows how to put it back together. It'll be interesting.
Yikes. Can they support it temporarily and get her home?
No, no, I think it's pretty uncovered because the bone, I think it's where the pin goes in, like they drill the head, they take the head off your humerus and they drill a hole in the bone.
Right.
And stick a pin with a ball on it in there. And I'm guessing it broke around that. She said it looks like a wishbone, so it's probably broke around that. So it's pretty
Oof.
uncomfortable, but somebody has to figure out like what to do with that.
Oh man.
Doesn't
Glad
happen.
it's not me.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
usually you take a plate and you put a bunch of screws in it, we're all good at that, screw gun,
sure.
drywall screws.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Some
Yeah,
CA glue.
yeah.
Good as new.
You're a carpenter, Jay. Just bring her home and do it.
There you
Well,
go.
this one's probably more like a wrap a bunch of wire or duct tape or something around and tighten it up. And
Yeah.
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 Oh
Yeah.
man, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's Charleston, South Carolina, I presume.
yeah, home of
Yeah.
Musk, which is a great place.
Home of
Yeah.
what?
Musk, Medical University of South Carolina is a really nice
Ah,
teaching school.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
she's lucky that she's in a place that has a good teaching hospital. If you
yeah.
can ever be lucky under those circumstances. Uh, so sorry to
wow.
hear that.
Well,
Yeah, that is super and just stressful.
it always breaks stuff that's hard to fix. Like
Oh man.
You guys got my note on the Marlboro Berlin thing.
I saw
I
it, yeah.
I will set aside some time this weekend. It's just been crazy, and we're doing an amicus brief on a case that will at least go to the appeals court involving the new regime. Uh,
That's no fun.
no, no, and and I have my day job too, but it's
well, if Tim didn't get that annual report in on time, he's probably going to want you to be the guy reading it at town meeting.
I yeah, if I'm going to be at town meeting, I don't know. I I have to talk to. We go down early in May generally to the family house of um, Hannah's in-laws, and because it's an extended family, they only have it for certain weeks. But I'm going to try to coordinate those things. Okay.
I think he did get it in.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, what makes you think he didn't,
I think he's
Jay?
just giving me a hard time.
Oh, Jay? What?
Not me. I didn't do it.
Oh, and Mr. Wheeler's here. Just waiting for our. Oh, and there he is. Speak of the devil. We're all here.
A devil I am, huh?
Sure.
Okay.
There are worse things to be called.
I probably have been. Sorry I'm late. Good try.
No worries.
We
All right.
managed.
You managed? Excellent.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, let's get going then.
All right.
Good evening. This is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Berlin Planning Board. As a preliminary matter, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. That ugly sweatshirt you decided to wear tonight, or anything that you choose to or intend to screen share on your computer will be captured and recorded forever, ever, and will wind up as a YouTube video to be shared amongst your neighbors and friends. This is Tom Sanford, Chair of the Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members of the Planning Board are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jay Teach.
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler.
Here.
Carolyn McDonald.
Here.
And Thomas Andrew.
Aye.
Excellent. With a quorum of the board present, I call this meeting to order at 7:35 PM Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. This is an open meeting of the planning board being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Specific information and general guidelines for the remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Berlin website. The governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows and encourages us to participate remotely. For this meeting, the planning board is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, which includes links for the public to join this meeting. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After their concluding remarks, I will ask each board member by name to provide any comments, questions, penetrating insights, and/or motions. Please hold all your insights until your name is called. Board members and speakers, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. And for any response, please wait till you're yielded the floor, state your name before speaking. If a board member wishes to engage in conversation with another member of the board, please do so through me to avoid multiple conversations happening at the same time. Lastly, please note that each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you all for your understanding and cooperation. All righty. So first order of business, can I entertain a motion for approving the minutes of our last meeting?
So moved.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the meeting minutes of the meeting from our last meeting. I'll ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Is there any other mail or notices or mailbox fodder that we should be looking at, discussing?
Well, I went to get stuff out of the mailbox, but I didn't have my key. I think Tim has it. Tim,
Ready?
did you find it? Well, I should give you like a paper clip or something, show you how to pick a lock.
Just leave it in there.
Try to use two pencils and squeeze stuff out.
Ah, yes.
Clever farmer trick.
Did we get
Yeah.
did we get anything electronically from Benderson?
Not to my knowledge. Did you get anything, Jay?
Not since we did the playables and whatever the other one was.
Because there was a cardboard box with a delivery dated February 24th. Please find Highland Commons coordinated side plan and updated Excel spreadsheet which provide for building mounted signage for J. Crew. As shown on
J.
the,
Crew. No, that's new.
okay, as shown on the coordinated sign plan and Excel spreadsheet, but they didn't send anything electronic. Usually they do, don't they?
They do, absolutely.
Yeah, usually they do.
Huh.
Is it
No,
stuck in spam?
The signs are code
see here.
complaint compliant. Yeah, they're
Complaining
compliant
already.
and consistent with other signage approved by the planning board. Respectfully request the board authorize the modifications to the coordinated sign plan.
Who's the who sent it? Which person? What's the name? Is it James
It's James Boglioli.
Baglioli? Yeah, so he sent me one in January for Playables and Paper Store, and then we got one from somebody else here. Where is he? For one after that. It's a different person. Where is it? Huh. Oh, a second ago. Well, anyways, there was another one, but we already dealt with it.
Oh, there it is. So it's between TJ Maxx and Ultra.
Yeah, it's where the fabric place was.
Pretty
it's a-
standard.
It's a
You know,
J.
not-
Crew outlet.
Nothing fancy about it. I mean, it's but it's the typical package, you know.
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet which provide for the building mounted signage for J. Crew. Authorize the modifications. So I mean, you know, I move that we authorize modifications to the signage for J. Crew at Highland Commons.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Do they, in the tabulation, Tim, do they say what the percentage of wall area versus signage? Usually they do on their tabulation sheet.
Michael's T-Mobile Subway, Sports Quick, Going, 110 Grill, Citizens, Urgent Care.
Yeah, and Subway's gone. That's where the ramen place is going.
Oh, there's a ramen place coming. Oh.
Yeah.
Or is that the
Louis-
Playables? No, that's different, right?
Cadoba.
Playables is next to Jersey Mike's.
Right.
And the ramen place is where Subway was.
Huh. If it's
Saw
as
the
good as
sign on
Kinzen,
Saturday.
Have you been to Kinzen in Marlboro?
No, I've
It's a
never even
ramen
heard of
place.
it.
It's like my favorite restaurant in the whole world now. Oh, it's so good.
Where is it?
It's between
J. Crew.
Five Guys and the Indian place.
Oh, at that shopping center?
Kinzen, yeah, across from
Mhm.
Apex. It's worth driving all the way down there. It's wonderful, but having one nearby would be nice too.
Yeah, it's called Ramen Haven,
Nice.
according to the sign out front anyway.
There
J.
was one in Boston.
J.
Near Symphony Hall.
So J. Crew, 5.8 feet high, 16.04 feet wide, 93 square feet, wall area height 33, wall area width 41. What the hell is that? Square, oh, width.
To give you the tabulation.
Oh, that's the wall area. Yep. Wall area, total square feet, 1,400. Maximum sign size is 490 and their size is 93.
Yeah, so they're underneath the maximum.
Amount
allowable.
of bonus signage, 25%, 3, yep, linear feet from frontage, linear feet, yep. So they're fine.
They're compliant. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and we've determined that they are compliant, so if you don't have any further discussion, I'll ask you to vote on accepting their sign. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
JT. You muted, but that's okay. We read your lips.
Yep.
Oh,
I
Aye.
didn't hear you.
there you go.
Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, so what we gotta do is just send a little email to, Richard saying that we had a vote and it was acceptable for their sign.
I think there's a document we have been sending in the past to Benderson too. I get requested. I tell them to go to I'd send them the minutes usually. But it was James Boglioli, right? I can just
Yep.
respond.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened all by email in the last 2 weeks was this request. I was trying to figure out if it's the owners of the gas station with the Dunkin' Donuts in it. Trying to figure out who it is. Family that was proposing to buy the lot next to the Dunkin' Donuts and put in a coffee shop, right?
You're talking on
Over
Central
here
Street?
on, yeah, right, over here on Central Street.
Okay, well, here it is here. Somebody named Stefano Piazza from Donovan Network, who had gone to see Richard with a proposal. Oh, here it is, Old Central Street and Gates Pond Road.
Hmm.
That's it.
That's the lot.
Mhm.
We
So
nixed the
that's
car wash.
yeah, that's the car wash lot.
So they
So-
wanted to have coffee
Yeah.
shop and 2 tenants, 3-tenant building. Did you guys ever see this? I can
Mm.
show it on the screen if you want.
Gotta be under 5,000 feet.
Yeah, under 4.
How big is that lot?
Small.
Lot
Postage.
is 47,000. Let's see. You see that?
There you go.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So this is
that's
this is the main road. That's the garage.
yeah.
With the
Anymore.
drive-through.
Yeah, they wanted to have a drive-through around it.
Yeah, sure.
There's the
No problem.
And putting more
Right.
traffic right on Coolidge on that corner. That's
Right,
wonderful.
so
Yeah.
uphill to get in and downhill to get out. Because that's a
Wow.
pretty steep hill right there. What's the elevation gain
well,
between,
it's 370 is there.
209.
368.
and then what,
The
oh,
peak,
you
the
can't,
peak is this area right where you see my mouse.
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's at 372, and the pit over here is at 358.
so
So it's
about 25
20
feet in
Yeah.
about 25 feet.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that steep.
Hmm.
Yeah,
The front
Well,
is
they
only 112 feet.
Yeah.
They-
It says
well,
exit
unless
right
you put your
down the-
frontage on Gates Pond Road and that's 209.
True, but you're gonna put 2 travel lanes in and out of a commercial establishment in 112 feet on a corner? I don't think so.
I'm not.
No. Well,
it's
at least
right to Nolan.
they didn't spend a lot of money on the engineering of this plan.
That's true.
It reminds me of Trump's extension of the hurricane path into Alabama. You know that.
Right, with the
Yeah.
Sharpie.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
man.
Jay,
Yeah,
see where it says garage on the adjoining lot?
Yep.
If you go I guess it actually really would be kind of southwest. What is that with the 4s on it? And then the 3 and the 2 and the 1? Are those, what is there a legend somewhere on here that shows what?
4s and 3.
Oh.
Where is that?
You can't see where I'm pointing. That's very frustrating.
Oh,
They look
All
like
right.
toilets.
Right, so see the
Oh,
word
these-
garage?
you mean these things?
Yeah.
Oh, those are test holes,
Oh,
perk holes.
okay. Right,
Yeah.
and where, speaking of toilets and test holes, where are they putting their well and where are they putting their septic?
Well, I'm wondering what these circles are. I've never seen the circles before. But I assume that they're digging around in there, that's where they're gonna put the leaching field. And the well would have to be over here somewhere in the high part.
Hmm.
You gotta be 100 feet, right? This is
So
250.
exactly what
What are they
what was
asking?
the request that it? Yeah, that's right where I was going, Caroline. I mean, what was?
So there was
What do they want from us?
an email correspondence, a lengthy one, I had just a second ago. They had gone to Richard to present this idea that you're seeing here. Oh, here's the email thing. It's right here. That's why. Okay.
Unless you want to share that with the public, you should probably stop screen sharing
Yeah.
what am I showing? Just this,
the
right?
email.
Is there a reason not to?
I don't know what's in it, so I'm just pointing out.
Well, he sent an
Okay.
email to the select board, planning board, and zoning board.
Well, they
Said, I'm
know.
representing the operator of 2 coffee shop locations in Berlin. 267 Central and 64 River West. So that's 2 Dunkin' Donuts, right?
Yeah.
And we've been doing it since 2003, et cetera, et cetera. We would like to gather your thoughts and request your support for this project of a drive-through coffee shop at 339 Central Street on Hudson Line. Want to highlight
Yeah.
that another drive-through coffee shop is located in Hudson, just 4 minutes away. Existing location at 267 Central. If we get positive feedback and support from all you guys, we would move forward with a formal application.
I think we have a very simple answer, which is that our zoning bylaw does not allow drive-throughs, and that proposal has been voted down numerous times at town meeting, and that's it.
At the request of this applicant, as a matter of fact.
Is that right?
This applicant, either directly or through the Sennies, has come to town meeting at least twice.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
one down River Bridge.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think also that when they were gonna upgrade the one next door to what we're seeing here, but I think when we wouldn't give them a drive-through, they cut it way back.
No, they couldn't get this lot. I thought
Oh, is that what
is,
happened?
that's what I think happened. And then the car wash proposal came through and that was ixnayed, and apparently they have purchased this lot now,
Yeah.
but not the lot in the middle.
Yep. No, I think, I
Oh.
don't think we need to burn any more candles on this. I think you just respond. It's just not consistent with the existing zoning bylaw, and it's not consistent on an issue that has been often rejected by town meeting, and that's it.
Well, I think that's what Richard already did,
Okay.
but Chick-fil-A moved into town and is gonna generate $10 million per month. in
But it's
tax
not in our town.
Hudson, no, Hudson. They went to Hudson because we wouldn't give a
Yeah,
drive.
I know.
No, I mean, I have to say, I feel like you let these restaurants in, you've taken the king's filling, you might as well, my own personal feeling is, you might as well make them drive through, because that's what increases the value and that's what increases the tax revenue. But, on at the same time, every time it's come before town meeting, it's been, rather,
Rejected.
yeah, and emphatically rejected. So I think that's our answer right now. Obviously it's too late to put any kind of change again, but I mean, it's something to look at. As I say, my feeling is you've already disturbed the land. You have a commercial development. Joni, who's in the kitchen, is saying, and this is a very selective survey. She's saying, I don't agree with you. But anyway, I think our answer right now is just that.
Well, what Richard said was, it was a pleasure discussing it with you. As we discussed, Berlin does not allow drive-throughs. You were considering applying for a variance, but you can apply for a variance, but this is a variance to a prohibition of a drive-through, which would be a use variance, which the town does not have a provision for the granting of. So the zoning board may not be able to grant you the relief you are requesting.
I think we can endorse that response,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of died on its own, right?
Yep.
But I just thought you should be aware of it. So that's why I'm
Yep.
presenting it.
Did the lot is 1,700 square feet, 17,000 square feet.
17,000, yeah.
They didn't project what the size of the building was, did they?
Well, you could kind of calculate it, except that they're not rectangular. So you have to decide, are they really going to be trapezoidal buildings?
I mean,
How's
Like,
how's your trigonometry, Jay?
yeah, really. Yeah, I don't think they specified how big they would be.
so the maximum size, as I read the bylaw, is 2,500 square feet.
Based on this land area, you mean?
Well, you start with, in a commercially zoned piece, you can have 2,500 square feet plus 0.05 times the square footage of the lot minus 80,000, which of course doesn't matter because it's not 80,000 to begin with. So it potentially could be 2,500. But it doesn't matter because they didn't show a calculation on the back of their napkin anyway. So what?
Yeah. So I think, do we want to have a vote simply to endorse the building inspector's response?
Are you making
Yeah,
a motion?
I'll move that.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to endorse Richard's response. And a second. Any further discussion? Seeing no obviously motions, hand gestures, facial expressions, I'll ask you to vote. Jay Teach,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Mail, you want to know the rest of the mail?
Yes, please.
A hearing notice from Boylston, which I found interesting, to amend section 3 to update the stated purpose of the floodplain bylaw. And then this is, and then to incorporate a low impact design measures and best practices, another piece to do the floodplain, low impact design. So they're moving forward with a low impact design strategy, similar to what I think we might work with Jane, if that ever comes to pass. And then in Bolton, amend the zoning bylaw, delete the existing floodplain bylaw and replace it with a new floodplain district bylaw as required by FEMA. Amendment to Bolton's. So everybody's dealing with floodplain as, oh, and then they've got amendment to Bolton's zoning bylaw to add a new section, cottage district overlay district, to allow a greater variety of housing type and density options to the residential zoning. It'd be interesting to pull that out, their full text at some point, but we're all playing by the same rules right now. So they're updating their sign bylaw. Yep, everybody's in the same boat. Clinton, there was a hearing notice for a parcel that's on Main Street, 830 and 894. I don't know exactly where that was. They're gonna add a Starbucks, a Valvoline, a Chase Bank, a Wendy's, and a New World Gas with a so that must be
What?
down by the Avidia, the new Avidia Bank or something.
What's the address again?
890
Main Street?
Main Street.
Hmm.
830 to 890.
Oh yeah, there's plans online and everything.
Are there?
Yeah. It's a 2.84 acre property.
They're gonna pack all that in there.
Let's see. Yeah, they are.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
they're just like in a row.
Mhm.
Where they in the parking lot of the Hannaford's or whatever it is?
No, I'm trying to get a picture that shows. So you know where, so it's just, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's just after the intersection where Hannaford is, but before, oh, wait a minute, that's 8:30. Don't listen to me. I'm giving you bad information here.
Oh, where they took
Yes.
that big building down?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, so whatever that factory-like building is that's on the left,
Right,
between there and the intersection to Hannaford's.
long in there, huh?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and actually looking at the layout, it doesn't look terrible.
as opposed to
Considering.
some layouts that we've seen, you mean?
Yeah.
Even very
Indeed.
recently, even very
Even
recently.
even within the hour.
April 1st in the 1870 Town Function Hall, there'll be a Planning for the Future of Your Farm sponsored by Mass Department of Agriculture Resources, American Farmland Trust, Sudbury Valley Trustees, and Land for Good. April 1st, 6 to 8, 1870. Presentations by Land for Good, Mass Department of Agriculture Resources. Gather with fellow Mass farmers to discuss planning for protecting, leasing, financing, or passing on your farm. So as someone intimate with Land for Good, I'm pleased to see them coming to town.
That's great.
And
I'll put it on my calendar. That sounds interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to go online and search for it. You have to reserve a space because they're advertising it all over Eastern Massachusetts. So,
Okay.
um,
Can
And
you
then-
send me a link to that or whatever, since you don't have to do it right now, obviously, but
yeah, I'll send you something.
okay.
Yep, I see it there. I'll send you that link.
The new thing in Clinton is going in the site of a warehouse.
Yeah.
They bought it for 1.45 million.
June wrote and said, I need to ask your help this year. I'm handing out your balances as of June 30th. Some of you might only get one item, others will be getting a number of different items. Please take a look at the items and return to me as soon as you can, especially if you have a different number. actively starting and closing process, and if you don't get back to me before I've finished, any corrections will have to be done at the next town meeting. I haven't looked at this. Oh, yeah, it's our
Special
planning
articles.
board expenses, master plan. Master plan, welcome to Berlin Signs. No year-end paperwork received. Please submit original paperwork sent to you 2 times. I
No.
should be
2 times? Is that why the stack keeps getting bigger?
We should be closing all these out, she said.
Somewhere.
I hope she doesn't close them out. Ouch.
She's threatened that before.
Assabet Regional Housing Consortium. Oh, Jesus, Marion, Joseph. I have to go up there Thursday. I can go see her.
You might have to fall on your sword.
I've done that before. I'm
Mhm.
Well, we don't have
Right,
any
usually.
outstanding, um,
No, but we don't want her closing stuff on
She'll
us.
close them out and
Encumbrances.
put the money back in the general fund, and then we've squandered our opportunities.
right.
I'll go see her. I'll be there Thursday.
Thank you.
And last, what, you got something you gotta do?
Who?
You got anybody on the agenda?
The only thing we have is we need our appointed delegate, draft letter to the city, and review our warrant articles.
All right. I'll update you on these quick things. I went to the select board last night along with Carolyn. And we heard the presentation by Central Mass on the natural hazard mitigation plan, which includes this floodplain piece, which we're working on, but also the dam infrastructure piece, which people are working on too. So, but the select board have got that.
Could you spell dam in that last sentence?
Yeah, dam. So there's going to be a period of public comment to the mitigation plan, and then it goes to MEMA, and then it goes eventually, when it gets back from them, it goes to FEMA.
If there is one by then.
Yeah. That's that. Carolyn gave an update on the rail trail along with
Robin.
Yep, and which was good. I thought the support at the meeting in February was more positive than was suggested last night.
Oh,
I mean, they've been talking about a third were against, a third were favor, and a third were from out of town.
right.
It may have been almost half from out of town, but I didn't take the tally. But if it was a third from out of town, that's true. But of the folks in town, even people, the one person that spoke against it said, spoke raising issues, said, I'm still in favor of this. So I thought in general, people were fairly supportive.
That's awesome.
And
That's good to hear.
to let everybody know, so what's happening now is Vanessa is going to do a flyover and begin to lay out the next phase as opposed to just, well, Carolyn can explain this better than I can, so.
Yeah.
I'll let-
So the, there's kind of two phases from technically the Boylston town line, not the, I mean, the Bolton town line, not the Hudson town line. But essentially Hudson to Coburn Road is phase one, and then phase two is up to Clinton. And so the whole thing has kind of been looked at closely. There's been some narrative written about all of it. Phase two is obviously much more fraught with
Mhm.
complications. So what we're looking to do, they're going to do a flyover with a drone of the whole entire town line to town line, you know, get the visuals on it, and then do a 10% plan for phase one, design plan. You know, get it, there's some low areas, you know, what we're gonna do about that, and those kind of things. So the select board had asked for an update. There's still some earmark money, and we still have some grant money, and they voted to allow us to engage VHB to do the next step.
Wow, good for you.
So, yeah. Yep. Chugging
Well,
along.
The feeling is that the state's position has changed, and a willingness to financially support some of these projects at this point, that the money may be more readily available from sources other than the town to get construction going eventually at some point. So
Correct, especially as more towns, well, certainly east of us, you know, Sudbury's done. Hudson is definitely moving forward with their portion. And there are towns west of us that are also working on it. Clinton is, I mean, they're holding bake sales and doing whatever they can to raise money. So, you know, more and more, Berlin becomes more of a linchpin in
yeah,
the
'cause
whole project.
at our meeting, they said that of the 110 miles from Boston to Northampton, 63% of it is complete now.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
Jay,
You're
you're muted.
muted, Jay.
How are they planning to get over the spillway of the dam? Gonna put the trestle back up?
Bill,
You know, the
yeah, I don't
tunnel-
know. Clinton's got big ideas, but I'm not entirely sure what that plan is. I know that the Friends of the Rail Trail, I believe it's the Friends of group, I don't think it's the actual town, have purchased the railroad tunnel and are applying for grant money to rehab that.
Oh, I thought they'd
What-
already done it.
I don't think the rehab's done. Maybe it has.
Wow.
I've had Robin's taken this by the horns and I have let her. So
I wanted to put
Uh,
Spooky World South in there.
right?
Yeah,
Uh
I'm
yeah,
amazed. I'm amazed that there's funding for that because of the fact that, as Jay just indicated, when you get to the end of it,
yeah, you're standing on the edge of Route 70.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, it's a scramble on foot, never mind on bicycles to even get to 70. I'd always thought that link would have to be you know, a shared roads initiative, but you know,
Yeah.
who knows? Anyway,
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that there's progress there. The other things The landfill is in we've been notified by the state that the landfill needs to be capped, and so the Board of Health is working on that project. There's the Worcester Regional Transit Authority has a bus in Berlin and Hudson that's been here for a couple weeks now, and it's, you call, they show up within 15, 20 minutes, take you from point to point. So if you wanted to go to Highland Commons or someplace in Hudson, they would do that. It's just Berlin, Hudson. If you go to Hudson, you can link up with the Metropolitan Area Transportation buses. They'll also take you to 3 points in Marlboro: Apex, downtown, and the hospital. And so it's a trial. It's fully paid for by a grant. There's no charge for its use. And they've had about 30 people use it so far, so.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
But it's an opportunity that we haven't had for a while. And then the other piece was Paul McKelk explaining, and I think this is integral to some of the things we've been talking about, that the septic system for the 1870, it goes into a tank. That tank connects with a line coming from Faith's that goes down across Woodard Avenue to a leach field on the common that belongs to the church. And I guess they've got some questioning by some folks on the state level as to, whether it's up to snuff. So he met with
And the records are sparse.
yeah.
No, they definitely are. In my apologia for not getting the Marlboro Berlin thing done, I indicated the church stuff, and that's one of the things that we have on our agenda, is how, sort of how to sort that out, and how that that fits into sort of a grand bargain and adjustment and documentation of stuff that's existed for a long time, but is not necessarily existing in legally recognizable form. So it's a project, and it's related to our Central Village project as well.
Yeah, we keep hearing that there's engineering going on for complete streets, but I think it's important that we don't allow things to proceed too far, because so many of these, the church needs water that's going to come from the children's church, so it's going to cross Carter. If we have to modify some of the septic line that's coming from the 1870 to the common, that needs to be evaluated. The agreement between the church and the town for the septic was in the 60s, and it was 60s or 70s. It was an agreement for 20 years that was going to be renewed, but hasn't been.
Absolutely. Yeah,
you've
that's some
got-
of the stuff I've looked at
for a
coming
long
from
time.
another direction. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, Kristen has said to me, talk to you and whomever else and say, do you want the clock? Because the clock is the town and it's in the church building, and
Yeah. The clock is the least of our concerns,
the
but
flagpole, and it's just. But I think I know you and Barry and Joni have tried before to package this and get it squared away, so everybody's got a legal understanding of what the roles and responsibilities are. And I think if the planning board can assist in this process,
no, absolutely. And
maybe we should.
as I think I said to you, one of my motivations for coming back on the planning board, because I'd already been there and I got the t-shirt, even though I outgrew the t-shirt that I got back then. that was one of the reasons for coming on the planning board, to help
Right.
to sort those things out. And we're looking at that. We're looking at forming a 501c3 to fund the necessary repairs to the meeting house. And as we do that, Tim, you will remember Joel Bard. I'm talking with him pro bono about how we organize that, and also some of these other issues. And he's agreed to sort of chat with me and help to sort some of those things out. So that's, I would think within the next 3 to 6 months, we'll have some things to think about on that score.
Yeah. Now, I know a couple months ago, we talked about trying to assemble the various players to have just an informational meeting. And Carolyn and I mentioned that to Kristen. I think she talked about wanting to do that, and I think we felt, okay, let her. But it's been 6 months since any meeting of the different players happened. And, I guess I'm at a point now where if you want, I'll make one more pitch to Kristen to call that meeting, but if she doesn't want to, I think we need to. I think there's Bullard, there's 1870, there's the meeting house, there's the children's church, there's water, there's septic, there's drainage for 19. It's too many pieces and too many players that I don't think are all up to speed. So, and I'd hate to see us start on.
Right, because you've got the town, you've got the historical society, you've got whoever's handling 1870, you've got 19 Carter, you've got the church. I mean, there's so many different organizations that are involved as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that's right. And what I'm working on with Joel, and I just had contacted him about 2 or 3 weeks ago, just after I got back from South Carolina. I would expect in the next month or two we could have some significant input on some of those interface issues between the town and the septic system and the water supply and the 501c3, to see what we could do structurally to organize that, and what we need to do legally to recognize certain things, like anything that would result from the complete streets that was on the list, and also the septic system, and also the idea of the public water supply, which currently, could supply the meeting house, but might also be able to supply the 1870. And if there was a reserve ability to extend things somehow into the conservation land, across the street from me, if we needed sort of further back up and further. And so, Joel has agreed to help me with, putting together at least an initial issue level discussion about those things. So I would expect, I'd expect by, certainly, like late May, June, we could have some things on that. And I view that as feeding into, very importantly, our central village planning issues.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Are you guys gonna start a GoFundMe page for the steeple?
Well, actually, we're looking at doing a 501c3 organization to initially to receive funding for the preservation of the building to, avoid the separation of church and state stuff that
Right.
we get, that but also with, with the idea of constructing that in such a way that we might eventually first of all to do that in such a way that that's a 501c3 organization that could receive funds from the town under the Community Preservation Act, that, and Joel is helping me with that as well. But also with the idea that maybe eventually, maybe sooner rather than later, conveying the church building to a 501c3 organization that and the existing denominations would be a tenant of that organization. So that, I mean, those are the things that are playing. And as I said in my note this afternoon, I was paying attention to those sorts of things because I'm getting pressure from church council and so on, rather than doing the Marlboro Berlin thing. But I will get to that.
Yeah, I think that's all exciting stuff, that if the
And
town of
important stuff.
Ashburnham, the meeting house up there, the congregation couldn't support it. They sold it to a 501c3. They continued to rent part of the opportunity to utilize it, but it's become an arts center.
Mhm.
And as a result, generates income to support the building, and the church is still able, the church entity is still able
Yep.
to utilize it, even though
Yep.
they don't own it. So
No, absolutely. And I'm going to be talking to on the vineyard. There's a church building that called Union Chapel that operates now only in the summer and on Sundays, but also provides a tremendous amount of cultural events and so on. I saw Andrew Young and Hank Aaron speak there
Wow.
in the same meeting. And looking at that as those things as a sort of model for how we could do this, and it's historically appropriate because the meeting house was initially both a religious and a civic organization, and I floated some of these ideas with a number of people, and I think that there's an increasing acceptance of the idea that that's a central architectural identifiable feature of the town. And that
Sure.
if that thing fell down and there was nothing in the center of town, to my mind, that affects everybody's property values. That, you no longer have, that identity, that physical environment that gives it a center and an identity that's competitive with other towns. So a lot of work to be done, but I think that the environment is favorable to us trying to deal with that over the next couple of years.
Nice. So no bake sales.
Bake sales are good. But bake sales are not going to fix the steeple, unless, yeah, unless we got a lot of, like high-end French bakers who are willing to do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we don't have an update for Marlboro that you're working on, why don't we move on to warrant
Before
articles?
before we
Sure.
move on, let me say, I will dedicate time and I will get something out this weekend. What I would suggest is when I send it out, if people have comments on it, communicate with me directly. I can have a phone call with you or whatever, so that at the next meeting, when we actually, sort of put it out, I can reflect other people's thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
Good, thanks.
So do we want to move on to our warrant articles?
Yeah.
Mr. J, you sent warrant articles to Kristen?
I sent the ADU one and Tim sent the floodplain one.
Okay. Is that in the final form that we're gonna publish in the warrant, or are we gonna tweak them still?
There were 2 or 3 current questions I think we just make decisions on, and then we don't know what else we're gonna hear from the state in the next month or 2.
Right.
I think I'm just trying to find. I had a document that had some little red notes in it about the things we had to decide on. No, I can't find it. There were, I sent you guys all the latest communication from the state, right?
Yep.
Which had corrections of a lot of things that didn't seem right, and then a few things deleted and a few things added. And we were waiting for a state template, but I realized that's like impossible because the difference between what a city would write and what a town like ours would write is just so different.
Right.
Right.
I think the biggest trouble with this whole thing is going to be in the cities. We saw Cambridge decided rather than fight it, they would just eliminate all single family home zones.
Yep.
That's the only place that this law applies. Yeah, just looking at it here. Actually, I can hear it, I guess. This is what I submitted, which is adding a new section 500. We'd used up 501 through 509, or 510 through 590, whatever. So I made 500. And I left the old one, as we had discussed.
Yep.
And let's see. The new information from the state, and I was wondering about non-conforming lots, and at least in 5 different places in their update, it said, it applies to non-conforming lots. So it says here, see whether regardless of whether the site conforms to requirements of existing zoning. So that showed up all over the place in their latest model. And I don't know whether you've seen this or not, but they talk in their bylaw about protected use ADUs, which I'm calling PADUs, and just ADUs, because theoretically you can have only one protected use ADU on a lot. But like we're leaving our bylaw to allow ADUs that have family members and reporting 5 years and those kind of things. And nothing currently says that you can't have both, right? Only one can conform. So here it says an ADU that's non-conforming.
So you can have an existing in-law and then build one of an ADU under this part of the bylaw.
Correct.
Hmm.
The gross floor area, remember the first time around, they were measuring the gross floor area from the outside of the exterior walls, which is
Right.
odd. They moved that. I guess they must have at least 1,000 people to say that was not right. But they still didn't move to the criteria that is in the building code and the International Building Code and the brokers use, which is conditioned space. Instead, they had you can see here it includes basements, lofts, etc. So, I mean, the primary effect of that, I think, is when you build an ADU, you're not going to build a basement under it, which I kind of feel like in New England, where the ground freezes down 3 feet, having a basement's a good idea. But if it's using up, if you got an 800 square foot space and you have to cut it in half because you got to pay for the basement, I don't think anyone's going to do it. But it also means that the principal dwelling, so if you had an 800 square foot principal dwelling, which is mighty small, but it also has a basement, it now becomes a 1,600 foot principal dwelling and allows you to build an 800 foot PADU.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you can you can build pairs. You can build pairs of buildings that are both, say, 800 square feet, right? And one of them you put a basement under it, the other one you don't, and you qualify for you fit the bylaw.
Right.
Which I don't know if there's anything wrong with that, but that's just the way it is right now. I don't know if it's going to change. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of this other stuff is not new. So one of our choices is on existing lots, not non-conforming lots. I think we have the ability to require a special permit. I don't think it's mandated. I think that can be in our local bylaw. And then we would need to, I think, come up with some kind of guidelines for how the special permits, is that the zoning board or is that the ZBA?
The same, yeah, ZBA.
ZBA, okay, so I would think we'd want to give them some kind of guidelines to work with when they're making those decisions. We should talk about that. We can decide whether we want, I think we can decide if we need special permits or not.
I think on a non-conforming lot, it makes sense for somebody to look at it.
Yeah, so do I.
It allows abutters the opportunity to voice their thoughts too, when there was, the ZBA action.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we'll leave that in. Let's see here. Oh, here's another one that I think this is local, that you can have no more than 2 bedrooms. I see it in the other towns' draft bylaws, but I don't believe that's a requirement. I think that's one the state is giving us the option on. I mean, the largest these things can be is 900 square feet. I mean, you could put 3 bedrooms in there and be kind of tight. But do we want that?
No, I think 2 bedrooms. When I read that, I thought that was perfectly reasonable.
Tim, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, it's dictated by the Board of Health regs and the septic size and all that, but why go down that slippery slope? Why not just say no more than 2?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. It's not clear. I've read this quite a few times. It's not clear whether the setbacks, they keep saying you don't need to comply with existing zoning. In the beginning, they were saying, except for setbacks. It's not clear whether we can require setbacks per our existing bylaw.
My recollection was Jane thought we could, but we can ask her again.
Yeah,
Yeah, everything I've heard has been that you have to comply with existing setbacks.
with the latest document they sent out, it becomes a little unclear because it keeps saying over and over that the lot does not need to comply with existing zoning. Right? But that's the lot. Maybe that's not the building. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's non-conforming sort of,
right.
Size wise.
yeah, size-wise, frontage-wise. And I think that's actually pretty clear.
Okay. Oops.
Do we want to, where you have the fire, code, mass fire code? Do we want to put in there that the dwellings have to be sprinkled?
Boy, I wouldn't, I wouldn't do that.
No?
No,
Well, the state's not gonna let you because you don't require single family homes in Springfield unless they're 3
We
families.
encourage it though.
yeah,
Yeah, we can't mandate it.
At what point do we mandate it? Because I definitely know of a new home that was built, single family home with an accessory, with an in-law essentially, that had to be sprinkled. So did Richard require that?
So it was only 2 units though?
Correct.
Mm. Wow,
Yeah.
that seems excessive.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to build low-cost housing and that's a
Right.
25,000.
That's a huge
Well,
expense.
it's an expense
Yeah.
because you got a private water supply, so you gotta have a tank and batteries,
Right.
and all sorts of things.
Right. Maybe because it was new construction. Like it was from scratch, new construction, not
Yeah, but that's not
existing.
required in town though. I think
Yeah.
there was, one time it had to be 5,000 square feet or 3 units. Was the last I was aware of it.
Interesting.
Maybe we need to have some conversation with the building inspector about when that applies, because it does seem excessive in an ordinary accessory use.
But we can do that.
And if I remember correctly, that where you have conjoined buildings in certainly in new developments, you have to have a fireproof wall anyway. So anyway,
Yeah, that's true here. If you have 2 separate units, you got a few rooms in your house, you're gonna separate it. It has to be fire code between the 2.
yeah, exactly.
That's always been that way, yeah.
Which, yeah. Anyway, that's
Because I've discussed it with Richard. He mentioned that, but he never said anything about sprinklers. So I'll have to ask him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I
Okay.
mean, it is possible I am not remembering correctly either, so I don't want to set off alarms. But I was pretty sure that's what I remembered.
Good. So I should talk to Richard and say, hey, Carolyn McDonald's been telling everybody that they need a sprinkler.
You're just looking to get my Sicilian going, aren't you? I'm gonna show up one day at your house with a pizza.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's for all the
Um,
rumors you've been spreading, Jay.
So I put some of this stuff in just for fun. I don't think you're gonna object to it. You gotta meet the building code, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
And they states can be kind of going back and forth on parking. You know, they require all electric vehicles. Oh, that's not electric, okay. Um,
Mhm.
it just says it has to be accessible by a vehicle now. And I put this connections to the roadway thing because apparently there is some kind of vague specifications for what you can do when you connect to our roads that I think needs to get formalized a little bit. Like there's a form for a curb cut, but we don't have any curbs, so
Yeah,
you know how close can you put a driveway to an intersection? And making sure you don't put water onto the road, those things. So I was going to talk to I actually did talk to Fred a little bit about it. I think he should come up with a page or two just explaining what is expected. And Richard can then evaluate anything he's looking at against that. And we
no,
talked about common
I think
drives and
that's
stuff.
good.
Yeah. We talked about common drives before at a previous meeting and said we were just going to not mention it, right? We're going to leave it.
Agreed.
It's funny because this kind of came and went in the state. It's like it's somewhere in the general overview, but it's not really in the detailed document, I believe. Some of these things, if we put them in, would be good guidance for the ZBA and the building inspector.
No, I like it. It's obviously soft, but it does invite and support a better input. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often wonder if there's a better way to word things that don't leave so much up to interpretation, though.
It'd be
Like
nice if we could
my
figure that out.
aesthetic degradation isn't necessarily your aesthetic degradation.
Right. And when someone, if it turns out there's a proponent wanting to build an ADU and there's an abutter who doesn't like it, and they both come to a ZBA meeting when there's a war going on, you know, how do they make a decision?
Correct.
This doesn't really say a lot, you know. So I
Well,
think if you think of that, that would be helpful.
yeah, I mean, I think Karen is advocating the other side of what I was suggesting. Um, I'm trying to sort of draft on the fly here. Maybe instead of to be designed to take into account the integration into existing,
Hmm.
again, because that would invite input, but not create something that says it's an absolute hurdle to deal with.
Sure, but I can take into account my neighbor's New England farmhouse when I present the plans for my cube.
Right.
Right.
And you know,
Yeah, no,
sure,
I know. And
I absolutely took it into account and decided it didn't matter.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's why I was suggesting maybe to say to take into account as opposed to designed to, which suggests that it's sort of a design requirement as opposed to something that one should consider in the process. That was exactly why I was making that suggestion.
Mm.
I mean, one could take this out, obviously.
Well, I think something is better than nothing.
Mhm. Um, maybe should address. Maybe the wording should address the integration into existing and so on, because that means it's like when somebody applies for this, they should address this in the application as, I mean, that's, I think, perhaps the most neutral way of doing this while still keeping it in there.
I mean, the tricky thing here is that in other parts of this, we've said we're not going to require anything of this application that we wouldn't apply to perhaps a single family home, and we
Yeah.
don't have design review or take into consideration what one dwelling is going to look like compared to its neighbor now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can build the cube next to the colonial, and no one has any authority to tell me I can't.
Yeah, the state says that because you don't control that, you can't control it for the ADUs either.
Right.
All right, so maybe we just take it out.
Right. Unfortunately, but
No, that's fine. I think it's a good discussion. Yep. I can foresee this clause perhaps in the process generating, more heat and more public time than many of the other things that are in here. So I think, yeah,
Yeah.
let's take it out.
Yeah.
Guess we don't need to. This is directly from the state that your site plan review, you have to have some criteria.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just make it up.
and I think that's a good, clear sentence for ZBA, hopefully. Hopefully they
Mhm.
agree.
Well, I don't know whether it should be our initiative or their initiative to document some guidelines they're gonna work with. All right, and as you were saying, Tim, B here is the same deal. It's if you don't require it for single family homes, then you can't require it for these. What else here? Floodplain. And then finally, here's our update. I'm just going to add another line to the existing table of uses in AR for residential uses. Does that look right?
Yeah.
So I did notice that the only line that addresses short-term rentals basically says as long as it complies with state law. I thought we were going
Where'd you see that? Is that here?
top first page, top of the second page.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
see. Trying to remember, I looked at this earlier today. Maybe not definitions. Oh, maybe under allowable uses. Mm,
Oh, here it is, right?
Yes,
And no, it says state and town regulations.
so does the town, we don't have any short-term rental regulations in town,
Right,
so.
maybe we should.
Because again, that defeats the purpose of this whole entire thing.
Can
If
we
we're
prohibit
allowing
them?
short, pardon,
Can we prohibit them?
I believe we can.
We can. I mean, we have to do it for all single family zones, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't be here, it would be in a separate,
Short-term rental
So-
bylaw.
yeah, so I think your language here is appropriate. And at some point, we need to deal with the other end of the conversation by generating some other language, right?
Well, now that they're fixing up the tunnel and they can't open up Spooky World South, there's no reason for people to come for short-term
Well,
rentals.
I will tell you that some of the rail trail community is also big into having Airbnbs along rail trails.
Oh, really?
And that is a thing that is being pushed by some of the people.
Like the
So
guy that
if,
talked to us a couple years ago, remember?
pardon?
Remember the guy that came out to talk to us to one of our
Yeah.
meetings? Have them
Well,
live?
I was trying
what
to
he
not
does.
name him directly, but yes, that it is definitely a thing for him. So if we really, I mean, we just kind of really need to get a grasp on how we feel about short-term rentals and put some stuff in place to support that one way or another.
Yeah,
Because
Should we,
it's
that
pretty complicated.
should we
Yeah.
just be silent on this issue for purposes of this bylaw?
right. Well, I had
Um,
I definitely, I mean, if we can't, if we don't limit short-term rentals for regular single family homes, that certainly makes it harder or impossible to do anything about it here.
Right. But I guess my point is, if we had a bylaw that allowed for short-term rentals and we dealt with that, that's the appropriate place to deal with short-term rentals for ADUs. And so therefore, just to remain silent,
Right.
um, that's one argument. The other argument is if we put this in here, it would automatically incorporate those rules into the ADUs. I think that's the question before us. My
Yeah, the reason I put it in
yeah.
is because it was in the state documentation.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think I mean thinking about it, I guess my own inclination is to leave it in because if there is a local bylaw that deals with short-term rentals,
Then it will be covered here.
then it'll be covered. We don't have to revisit it. And that's an issue that probably should be dealt with as an issue itself rather than as adjunct to this. But I welcome other thoughts.
No, I agree. I think it needs to be its own thing.
Yeah. And so this basically says it's its own thing, and whatever it is applies to ADUs as well as primary dwellings, right?
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess we leave this. But it was a really good question, and it shows that Carolyn reads these things.
I did my homework today. I admit I don't always, but I do try to.
No,
I even have a
kudos.
pen. I came to
Yeah.
class prepared.
Kudos. Yeah.
So you mean you read the minutes before the meeting?
I read the minutes as soon as you sent them.
Good, got that covered. Well, I think that's it, right? Yeah. Assuming this table is good,
Yeah.
I think we're all set.
Can you go up above definitions, just the beginning of definitions one more time. So the only thing that I had thought about earlier was the inclusion of a clause that said the definitions in this section apply only to ADUs.
Right.
Did we leave that in? Because
Don't
these
remember putting
definitions,
that in.
these definitions aren't the same as the definitions we have in all cases in
Right.
part of our bylaw. Okay, there it is. No,
See, it
that's,
says in this section 500 only. So we did put it in there.
yeah,
So,
good.
Yeah.
I just thought it was important to, until we
No, that's
consolidate
good.
the whole bylaw, we separate these two.
No, that's good. That's great. Did we need a motion to endorse submitting this as we've discussed tonight?
We probably should, because the last time we voted on it was to submit the state template, which never existed.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
So I will make that motion.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to submit this as is, and it will evolve. But we're going to endorse this as it is for now with this vote. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
All right.
Timothy Wheeler,
aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Perfect. Good job, Jay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Jay.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jay.
Cool.
So what's happening with FEMA update to the FEMA bylaw? I know you said you haven't gotten a
Well, I hired an
boilerplate.
assistant. I hired an assistant
So we
person.
took this, the piece that we'd gotten, modified it slightly, sent it into the select board for inclusion. I wrote to Katie, who's the floodplain management specialist for the state, and asked her two specific questions. And got responses on those, but I would think the next time we meet, we should look carefully at the floodplain one. I'll do some checking. Obviously, these are gonna go to town council, and so we'll probably get some feedback from Heather as well. I said to Katie, we have a question regarding the boundaries. In the past, we've included the specific map numbers that relate to Berlin, and over time, our references aren't up to date. Is there a way to add a link to the materials that identifies the boundaries so we are always up to date? And she said FEMA no longer requires that specific map numbers be listed in the local bylaw, and communities can use language out of our model floodplain bylaw. Each time new flood maps come out, communities must adopt a new map date in their bylaw and cannot use language such as "or most recent firms." As the floodplain changes with each map update, I know that there are very limited changes in Berlin with the map. So using language such as our most recent firms. So we'll be sure to do that. And then the other question was in regard to enforcement. And I said, where do most towns include the information, if not in the bylaw? And she said, for the bylaw updates, an enforcement section doesn't need to be included in the floodplain bylaw, as that is typically covered by the enforcement section of the zoning bylaw. So in our case, it's the building commissioner. And that's what would apply here. So I'll play with the floodplain one a little more, make these modifications and send it around to everybody so we can hit it again next time. One other question, unrelated, but somewhat related. During the discussion of the hazard mitigation plan, Kristen sent me a note saying who would be responsible for the, let me see if I can find what she said.
Right. Did you see my response to that general
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, and remind me and us what you said.
So basically the question was, hey, who's point person on this? If there is an emergency, who gets the phone call, who's in charge, who's coordinating? And all of that had kind of been worked out with the Bonazzoli emergency plan for Wheeler Pond. So I sent to Will at Central Mass Regional Planning, and I think I copied everybody else too, that it had kind of already been worked out and shouldn't it be these people? And it was, I mean, at the time it was Chief Galvin, so it would be Chief Shartner now, but it was the police chief, the fire chief, the highway department, kind of in that order. And then with the planning board and conservation and I don't remember who else, kind of just be notified that something's going on, but not that we were, point people. So I got an email back from Will today saying, hey, good idea, but I have no idea if that was where it went from beyond that.
But we're in agreement that it's not someone from the planning board or the conservation commission.
Sure, no, for an emergency, no, it should
But
be the
I mean-
emergency services people in town.
I mean,
It should not be anyone on a volunteer board.
Kristen's note to us, is this someone from planning or Concom? So, I think our answer is no, it's not. Figure it
Yeah.
out.
Right,
Absolutely,
yes, no,
absolutely.
paid staff, people who are trained in emergency management.
Yeah. Hello, is this Jay? Jay,
yeah.
we have a flood. Ross Dam has exploded. And
I
there's a
get so
wall
many
of
calls like
water.
that.
Yeah,
They are,
Yeah.
I only get, it's not usually a flood, it's usually the heat's out and it's only Saturday night, just as I get into bed and it's freezing cold out.
Sure, yes.
yeah, you'll be
Um,
up, you'll be up with the horses anyway. Let's nominate Jay.
I'm qualified.
Yeah,
for
and
that job.
I did ask, as the Conservation Commission to be notified should a dam explode. But I am certainly not, I should not be anywhere near in charge of how that emergency is handled.
Right.
No. And I think even less so for planning board. I understand why conservation commission would want to know, but thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get that call at 2 a.m. just after I got off a call with our Tokyo office that the dam has burst. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Odds are you would
Fortunately,
know pretty soon whether you
Yeah,
were
I mean,
officially notified.
yeah. Fortunately, it does strike me that anything downstream of that would be highly unlikely to be affected, but any human habitation and so on. But thank you.
Yep.
That's the
So
appropriate chain.
are we holding a public hearing on the 22nd of April?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
In
should
which
have it,
case-
right?
Say what?
We should. 'Cause
Or
if
do you
Yeah.
we
want to
don't,
do it,
then
or do you
when-
want to do it on the, I think the 22nd makes more sense than the 8th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So it would need to be in the paper on the 4th and the 11th. So
Yeah.
it would have to go to the paper
the
Monday,
Friday before the 4th.
Monday, the 31st. So we can square that away at our next meeting.
When are
Okay.
we supposed to find out, or when does meeting on Zoom expire?
March.
It expires after our next meeting.
Well,
Unless
let's hope
the
they,
legislature in their infinite wisdom allow us to continue.
Right.
yeah.
What
I
was your
know
hearing
that-
date,
Other,
Tim?
What?
What hearing date did you say again? Sorry, public hearing?
It'd probably be the,
4/22.
20, yeah.
yeah, the
22.
22nd of April.
Yep.
No, like CPA our meeting in April, we've scheduled to be in person, because we don't anticipate hearing from the state soon enough to modify that, so.
It was a good
Alright.
run while it lasted.
I think they'll continue it. It's just that they can't. James said tonight, there's somebody on the state level, some legislature perhaps said, and Eloise will enjoy this if she's still in the audience.
yeah, she
Yes.
still is. Yeah.
Yeah, so the suggestion was that town meetings be allowed to be remote.
Woo!
And James of course said,
Oh,
yeah, how are you gonna control who votes? And you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
hold
you-
on to those horses. Yeah.
You just stop immediately and say no, but for some reason there's the conversation about that.
Wow.
Nonsense, but
That's
Yeah.
someone who's never been to a town meeting.
no, I mean, it's crazy. But just give us what we've already got and allow us to continue.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, for me, it's really helpful because Wednesday is my day in Boston, and I have to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning in order to do my European meetings. So I love it.
No,
Yep.
it works. For everybody, the conservation, but that's all right. If they want to do
Yeah,
it.
for my personal life, it's a good mix. I get, the conservation stuff I just always found was too hard to do online. So that works out great, meeting in person. And then my other two meetings meet on Zoom, and that works out great too.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I will I'll put the touch on Lisa Wysocki to say, let's be sure our representatives have their thumb on the scale in favor of extending this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
Are we
Want a
gonna do
motion?
any other outreach to the community on our warrant articles?
There'll be a coffee at some point.
Right. Coffee talk.
Yeah.
You can go to
I
that.
mean,
Jim.
I think that, these things are mostly, local enactments of things that are mandated by things that are beyond us. So I would suspect it's going to be uncontroversial, but
Really? I don't know.
yeah.
It's a pretty big change, and
I mean,
if people
not-
nobody knows about it,
not
no one
doing
I
it
talk to
is-
knew about it.
right, by not acting, we put ourselves in an awkward position.
Right.
So that taking these actions make logical sense. Did you
Well,
get a
maybe what we should do is, and maybe we can use the next meeting to develop it, but a statement of why this would put us particularly, I mean, it's obviously the ADU, but to a lesser extent, the floodplain, why it would put us in an awkward position.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to put together a statement, I can certainly post it on Berlin Neighbors Connect to advertise our public hearing.
We
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
Just so people are a little bit more
Aware.
aware.
And for the reasons I described with respect to the Marlboro Berlin thing, I don't want to take this on, but if people could jot down their thoughts and circulate them via email on why it would be awkward not to do this, I think it would be helpful to have us crystallize that at the next meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
if we can think of any way of getting conversation going, particularly on the ADU one, prior to the town meeting, I think that would be wise. Because when
Yeah.
people are first exposed to it there, you don't have total control over what happens after that, you know?
Yeah, and I think what I'm suggesting is that people want to flip out on the email the talking points for that, because you
Mhm.
got to get content.
Right.
Can
Well,
we just like,
public hearing's gonna be online, live and online, or what is it?
Depends on what the state does.
yeah,
Right,
Oh,
it
If we-
does.
right. If we can't meet online, it will be
To be in person,
in person, yeah.
you know.
Yep.
so I guess we just need to promote that so that people are aware of it. Somehow, I don't know how you do that.
That's right, but also developing the talking points as to why, it is what it is, basically. So I would invite people, and I'll certainly think about it and contribute some bullet points. But perhaps I could suggest we exchange those things via email to prepare for that.
Yeah. I'll move, we adjourn.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second that. Oh, man, there's a big rush for the door here.
Holy smokes.
Did
You're a
somebody
little
say-
slow on the uptake on that
Yeah.
one.
Did somebody say fired? There's a big rush for the door.
Oh, man. All right, we have a motion and a second on a non-debatable item. So I'll ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. We're done.
All right.
I would like to
Jay,
note
Jay,
that
before
when
we best wishes to you and your spouse. Let us know how things
Yes.
are going.
Yeah, these two
Well, she
didn't
got a
hear.
room. She was in the ER again. She's in a room, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In South Carolina.
Oh, no.
Oh,
She broke her attachment to her shoulder
Humerus.
replacement.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wearing sneakers, fell down, broke her arm.
Ouch.
Oh my.
Anyway, best
Yes,
wishes, and let us
best
know how that's
wishes.
going. Yeah.
tell her we're thinking of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, guys.
Bonsoir all.
Good
Good night.
night.
Good night.